As you can see by these family pictures, I love birthday celebrations. Hey, happy birthday, Vera. That's right. My birthday was Thursday and I am still celebrating all weekend long. So I hope you'll join me tonight for this episode. You know, remember when we thought 60 was really old? Well, guess what? It's not. It's extremely young, and I think I've got the energy to prove it. So tonight I'm going to give you the recipe for a childhood favorite, pineapple upside down cake, and it is scrumptious. And then to that, we're going to do a baked boiled custard. It is delicious, it's wonderful comfort food, and I'm going to show you how to incorporate that with this pineapple upside down cake that has a twist. So come back, we've got a lot of celebrating to do, and who knows, I might be dancing in the kitchen. So come back and join me. Welcome back, and I'm so happy to be celebrating my birthday on TV with all of you. And actually, this is the first episode of season 3. So I want to thank everyone out there that's been following me along. And you know, I've just had a great time. And again, just to celebrate my birthday with all of you tonight is just great. So what we're going to do is 2 recipes tonight that I just grew up with that I love. The first one, however, is one that I remember from my childhood, but I didn't actually have a recipe for it. So this recipe comes from a very, very dear friend and also a friend of VeryVera, Peggy Engelkey, who has been with me now for 19 years. And this is her grandmother's recipe for boiled custard. So I've pulled out the double boiler out of the archives. You know, we never use these sorts of things anymore, but it comes in really handy when you've got more than one recipe that you're trying to make at a time, because I'm not going to have to stand here and stir it. So we're going to start with just some regular granulated sugar and cornstarch. And I just want to mix these together before I add the liquid ingredients. And I love this flat wooden spoon that I use when I do this, because you can really stir around very well in the pot. Now to that, I'm going to add my half and half and just stir until you kind of got it mixed in, and then a beaten egg. And one of the reasons that we love this recipe is that we use it a lot in banana puddings, which actually can be a birthday cake too, if that's your favorite dessert. So I've got the double boiler on about a medium heat, and I'm just going to get this mixed in really well, and then I can walk away from it while we get started on the pineapple upside down cake. All right, that looks pretty good. And you can substitute just regular milk in here, or if you really want it rich and creamy, you can do heavy cream, but I used half and half. So that's good and mixed up, and now it can just start to come to a boil very slowly in the double boiler. So let's move on down here to the black iron skillet and a twist on a pineapple upside down cake. So I've melted 4 tablespoons of butter in the pan, and I'm going to add a half a cup of brown sugar to this. And while this kind of cooks a little bit, I'm going to show you the twist to this recipe, which is so unusual. I grew up loving those red hot candies, and this recipe actually has me marinating the pineapple slices in a combination of the red hot candies, some sugar, cinnamon, nutmeg, and I've let this sit for several hours. And I'm going to now take those out and let them get a little bit dried off on a paper towel. But this just adds a different flavor to what you've grown up enjoying a pineapple upside down cake. It just adds a different element to it. So I hope you'll try this. It's really good. These, it's going to give a little bit of a hot flavor, but a little different twist. All right, so these are out and they'll be drying off while I check on that brown sugar and butter. The other thing I love to use in this recipe is regular cherries instead of the can, but if those aren't available, you can always pick up the can. Now all we're trying to do here is get the sugar and the butter melted just enough so I can spread it out of the pan. And a tip that I want to give you here is that if you use the black iron skillet for this recipe, it's going to really caramelize the fruit instead of a springform pan. So now that we've got this nice and evenly coated in the pan, I can start adding the fruit to this. So what we want to do is start with one piece of pineapple in the center. I'm going to turn this off now. And then I'm going to take the other pineapple slices and go all the way around the outside. Then we're going to go into the center of each one with a cherry. And remember, this is an upside down cake, so you want the rounded part of the cherry to go face down in the pan. And you're just going to cover the whole bottom with this. So when we come back, I'll show you how we get this finished with some pecans, and then we'll get started on the batter. But oh, this smells so good. It's going to be yummy. Welcome back. I wish you guys could smell this because there is nothing better than boiled custard. And I use this recipe all the time at VeryVera. It's Peggy's recipe. Peggy, thank you so much for sharing it. And it's just wonderful. Perfect for banana pudding, but it's going to be great as the bottom of the display for this. So now, as you can see, the double boiler helped us not have to stand here and stir it the whole time. It's just the perfect consistency. So now I'm going to add the vanilla to that and stir it around. And this can go in the refrigerator, can actually last several days if you have any left over. So let's just give that a quick whirl, and that just really makes it even better. Alrighty, so you're going to see that back again in a few minutes. But look how beautifully the bottom of the pineapple upside down cake looks. And you can see a little bit of the red and the red hot candies. But I've got that prepared now, and I put some of the pineapple along the side and dolloped a few of the pecans. So now we're going to get started on the batter, and I'm using cake flour for this recipe. And a lot of times people will say to me, what is the difference in all of the different flours? So what you want to remember is the more gluten, the more stretchy and porous, heavy the batter will be. So if you're making bread, you want to use an all-purpose flour that has more gluten. If you're doing a cake, if you want a really tender, really nice consistency to the cake, you either want to use cake flour or white lily flour, has a little bit less gluten in it. So keep that in mind. So I've got my some of the flour in, but I also wanted to show you when I'm making a really light cake, I also like to pull that sifter out and use it. I probably don't do this very often for anything else, but I always do it when I'm making a cake. So I'm going to level that off with my hands and get that in. And then I'm going to add the sugar and the other dry ingredients, which is baking soda, baking powder, and salt to this. Okay, and all we're trying to do here is just get the dry ingredients incorporated. All right, and then I've got 3 eggs, a little bit of the sour cream that goes in the recipe, and the vanilla. And I'm going to add that to the mixture. And this again is a very light and fluffy cake because you've got a lot of weight in the fruit that's in this. And then the rest of the sour cream. And that's just going to mix for a few minutes until it gets nice and incorporated. And then I'm going to add the butter to that. Oh, wait, gosh, there's the phone. Excuse me. Hello?
Hey, Vera, it is your friend, Mayor Deke Copenhaver, calling to wish you a very happy birthday and to thank you for all that you do for our city and our entire community on a daily basis. I'm truly blessed to call you a friend, and I sincerely hope that you just have a great, great day.
Thank you so much for calling. That is so sweet. See you soon. Oh gosh, excuse me, that was the mayor calling to wish me a happy birthday. I don't know how that man keeps up with half of what he has to do. All right, so let's add the butter to this. And the butter needs to be softened before you add it to the recipe. And this is 9 tablespoons of unsalted butter. And again, you'll be able to tell once you start doing more things with the different types of flour, you'll be able to tell quite a remarkable difference. And you know, when you've got your young person in the kitchen with you, I think it's really neat to go over some of these things. For example, what I mentioned earlier about the gluten, white lily flour makes the best biscuits because you don't want that stretchiness when you're making biscuits, but you do when you're making like a yeast dough or a yeast roll. All right, so this is just about ready. And I love to get everything off the spatula before I start. And this is a pretty thick dough, so what you want to be sure to do is that you're just going to spoon this over the batter, the fruit, just a little bit at a time. So I'll get started on this, and when we come back from the break, I'm going to show you some beautiful vintage cake carriers and cake stands. So come back, we've got a lot more to do. Welcome back. Did I tell y'all it was my birthday? You know, I'm just beside myself, I guess, but I'm really excited. Season 3, my big 6-0, and I'm full of celebration. So one of the things that I wanted to, point out on this episode was that sometimes some of the most common recipes that you have can bring back so many wonderful memories. And I love this recipe for the boiled custard because not only does it remind me of my childhood, but also a very favorite person in my life, Peggy Engelke. So what I wanted to be sure to show you about this, we're going to see this at the end when I plate the pineapple upside down cake. But what I've got in the pot here is just the right consistency to use as a sauce. So this is done and cooled just to room temperature and not refrigerated. But as it gets cold, it's going to resemble more something like this. This would be what would happen to it if you used it in a banana pudding, where it gets to just the right state. But one of my son's favorite recipes when we go out is creme brulee. And this recipe is so similar in taste to that even just by itself in a beautiful glass like this, just enough because it's very rich, maybe some whipped cream on the top, and a cherry would be the perfect dessert. Very light, very wonderful. So let's move down here, and I wanted to show you my kind of concoction of different things to serve cake on. And as a cake person, the cake lady, I guess as I'm referred to in Augusta, I've always had an interest in cakes and that sort of thing. Whether it's brand new or vintage or something that just has a lot of sentimental value, I think bringing these things out on special occasions is always really nice. There's a picture, and we're looking at it right now, of me in front of this particular cake stand as a young girl, and this was my grandmother's, and through the years it got so dull, and I took it to one of the antique shops, and they recommended a silversmith to re-silver it. So I have continued to use this over and over, and it's just a cherished memory, and hopefully my children will feel that way about it one day too. Three Monkeys, as you can see, did the greatest job for this show to make it pop with color. I said, it's my birthday, I really want it to pop. So everything is so beautiful. And this cake stand is from their shop. And one of the things that I love to recommend is that's a great wedding gift. If you get something like that, it's always going to be a treasured item that bride pulls out for special occasions. Just vintage stands, crystal, silver, and then the different cake servers that you use. I picked this up at an antique store, Fiesta ware. This is a really, really old Japanese vintage cake server that I picked up to show you today. Love that. And then who could forget the old school cake totes that you took? Aren't these great? So wouldn't that be cool if you were taking that to a party? It would just be awesome, vintage, old school cake tote. So, you know, I'm smelling that cake. I need to check it real quick. Oh, it's just perfect, golden brown. And really you can just touch it with your finger and see if it bounces back, which it does. So that's just about ready to come out of the oven. So come back with me after the break. I'm going to hopefully attempt to get this taken out of the pan and invert it onto my cake plate. And then I'm going to show you how to plate these desserts to make them spectacular. So come back with me. We've got a lot to do. I love making introductions, and I find myself many times being in a situation where I don't know everyone, and I've just become very accustomed to walking up, extending my hand, and introducing myself. But if you're in a position where it's time to introduce someone, start with the person that you want to honor first. That's the name that you call first. For example, if you've just gone off to college, you've brought your college roommate home, you want to introduce him to your grandmother, start by saying, "Nana, I'd love to introduce you to my new roommate, Susan." The same is true in any situation. Start with the oldest person first in an introduction. Start with a woman before a man. Introduce an adult before a child. But when you're making that introduction, make sure that you're making eye contact. If you're the one being introduced, always extend your hand, give a good firm handshake, and always have a nice smile on your face. Welcome back, and I'm still celebrating my birthday. I've been celebrating since Thursday, which was actually my birthday. But I'm joined with Katie Ryan. Katie is one of the high school students that helps us at VeryVera. Katie, thank you for coming to help today. And she is a senior at Davidson, is actually getting ready to go to Georgia Tech in the fall. And, you know, even though I'm a Georgia girl, I still love you, Katie. But she's going to help me. You think you're smart enough to get that pineapple upside down cake out of the oven?
I'm going to Georgia Tech. I think I can manage.
Okay. So this is the hard part. The hardest of the parts is that pan is really heavy, but then inverting it. So hopefully this will go really well, and we'll be able to get this thing decorated and ready to go. All righty. Gosh, that turned out great. Mm-hmm. All right. So now you want to just take a knife and go around the edges just to make sure that nothing is sticking to the side. And then take whatever plate you're planning to serve that on, and I'll need these hot pads. And I want to just grip it up under. I knew going to the gym was for some reason. Oh, look. Gosh, that turned out great. All right. You might need to just wipe up just a little bit around there where it's kind of sticky, but oh, the aroma is unbelievable. So, as you know, one of the things for me is that it doesn't have to be a cake. It can be whatever your favorite dessert is. So, Katie, I'm going to get you to kind of work on the one that I've already done over there. And then I'm going to show you how to use this wonderful white sauce to make the plate look attractive. So I'm going to put about 4 tablespoons in the center of this plate. And I want to just take a spoon and just get it all the way to the rim. All right. And then this is just a raspberry sauce that I kind of diluted a little bit with a little bit of water. And I'm going to put just a few dots around the corners. And then I'm going to go through that with a knife. And doesn't it look pretty over there? All right. And this is just another way that you can just, instead of just putting something simply on the plate, that you can just make the presentation pretty. So I'm just going to go through each one quickly, and it just makes a really nice presentation for the cake. All right, so let's put some whipped cream on that one, and I'm actually going to cut a piece straight from the one that just came out of the oven. And then let's grab those birthday hats. Oh Yummy. Okay, Katie, let's just dork it up here. It's my birthday celebration. Cheers! So let's try this. Let's have a little bit.
All right.
Okay, so 6-0, just think about what you're gonna feel like when you're 60 years old. I know I feel great, and I just wanna thank everybody for joining me and helping me celebrate today. And you know, 60 is not as old as it used to be, so keep yourself healthy and happy. And remember, no matter what you do, Katie, at Georgia Tech, do it in good taste. And for the rest of you, come back and join me next week because I'm going to be doing a dinner party, a classic dinner party. We're going to set the table and we're going to have some yummy food. So let's celebrate. Yum.